What is up, everyone? My name is Brandon Iverson. I am your host of the Community Managers Podcast, and we are back for another episode with another special guest. We have none other than Ariela Shai on the show today, and she comes talking about how to build not only community frameworks, but how to build your own communities. She's built communities for women in tech and businesswomen in the New York scene, as well as helped startup founders go through different acceleration programs and get partnerships, both domestic and international founders. And it's a great episode. But before you listen and dive into the episode, make sure you open up a new tab and go to the communitymanagerspodcast.com. Make sure you drop your email in there. It's very simple, 5 seconds. Go to the website, put it in there so that you get the weekly newsletter and you're a part of the family. If you haven't already, like and subscribe on YouTube if you're listening there, or if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, follow me over there as well to stay up to date. All right, enough talking. It's a good one. Just buckle up, strap up. Time to get into the episode. See you there.
Hi, Brendan. Thank you for inviting me.
For sure, for sure. So I know you're in the New York area. So what's a day to day for you? I know you're a very busy individual. So what's kind of your day to day look like as of right now?
Woo. Day to it changes. There is a routine, but it changes day to day. Each day we have a different program that we run. I am a program director at Quay Acceleration. So we're building acceleration programs for local and international partners in partnership with government groups and investor groups. So each we have different programs that we run right now simultaneously. So we have cohort sessions in the morning where founders learn more about different topics, and then we have one-on-one with our founders in order to identify additional goals and milestones for them to achieve and provide them additional resources. Back to back meeting mentors as we expand our network further, and different events and activities where we can bring our community together and our mentors and our alumni. If we have time, which is a must as well, meeting new clients and thinking with current clients in order to update them on the progress of our companies and programs. So there's more in between, but that's the
Of
thing
course.
today mostly.
No, I
And
appreciate that.
after hours, I also have the community that I lead with along a group of community managers. So the work hours and after work hours.
It never stops for you. It never that's the entrepreneurship lifestyle, right? I mean, you're always working on something, which is a gift and a curse, right?
Yeah, it's never boring. Not a dull moment, but it's fun.
Never.
That's the passion.
Yeah, and I definitely want to talk more about the community that you built, but let's give the audience some background, right? And how you got to this point working with startup founders. And we'll talk more about the accelerator that you're at as well. But kind of talk about your background, right? How has your international background shaped your perspective on community building? What currently excites you and gives you energy every single day?
And value that they got from working at that co-working space was me as the community manager, learning about their business needs and their different challenges, and being able to tailor the right or offer connections for them and resources and connect them to one another to provide more growth opportunities. And that was also my first take in or introduction to the startup ecosystem. So I started learning about startups, then about investors and the different stages of investments in order for me to provide value for our community members. I started to create meetups and I reached out to different VC partners. We had the first meetup where we had more than 100 people in that co-working space that came, and they're also potential clients for the space, but also community members and connecting with the broader community um, to learn and meet one of the VC partners that I brought to the event, providing them different workshops. So I treated it as like my own mini accelerator model where I can help them grow based on the different needs and challenges. And that's when I also started to be able to support founders and helping them identify how they can connect with others. And then I relocated after enjoying my job and being this awesome community and nurturing it. I relocated to the US. And then after a period of time, I started working with Quay Acceleration, formerly Stella Innovation and with Acceleration merged now to a company called Quay. Uh, And in between, I continued mentoring startups and supporting them. And that's how I came across to this position. And the international background, I believe, in also community management and my work nowadays is that I started as a community manager. I wasn't afraid to reach out to people, and I wasn't concerned with how do I reach out to them? Should I worry about their title, like reaching out to
Right.
the general partner at a VC, asking questions that may sound dumb since I didn't have that entrepreneurial experience. And then reaching out cold without any warm intro to people, saying what it is that I do and how they can get involved, understanding their needs, how can I support and empower them back, and create those connections and relationships, and bring them to the community and connect them to the community, and being able to get those yeses and understanding how to create those connections, which may be a bit different in the US culture of building a relationship, reaching out to specific people with specific titles, having warm interest first without reaching out to people cold on LinkedIn or how to reach out. I feel that gave me the advantage of building genuine relationships and helping people be on board and want to support further.
100%. And I think you said something really powerful there, which I hope you can elaborate more on, because I think a lot of people who are listening might feel like they don't have the expertise or have the background necessary to reach out to some of those higher ups at different companies. So, what was it for you that gave you the confidence to do that, no matter your job title or no matter how much knowledge you felt you did or didn't have to be able to make those connections down the road?
Yes. Um, First of all, I did my research. I mean, even if I didn't know things, I started by researching what are the segments, what are the hot topics, what are the needs right now, reached out to my community member and try to search online for voices that are in our ecosystem, that join meetings, that speak, that show that they want to support others. And by knowing that I can understand the people that I reach out to, their need, and in that conversation, I can identify not just needs, but how can I support them back? That I can offer a genuine connection and collaboration and partnership. It's not just that I'm asking them for their time or asking them for something. Come support our founders, come spend from your time, give a mentorship call, provide a workshop. It's how I can support them back to get exposure to more startups, more technology, to get more brand awareness. I can promote them back on social media, on LinkedIn, in our community,
Right.
not just team, but provide them back and also let them know, like, hi, I just started. I saw that you're doing this and that, and I would love to learn more and see how I can bring you to our community to support you and for you to support the community. And if I have questions, feel free to let me know. I'd love to learn from your experience as I I do not know what I do not know. So I wasn't
Right.
embarrassed to say that because I don't want to like say yes, 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 and then like come out like dumb or like saying yes, but I actually have no idea what this person is speaking about. So be authentic. Don't be embarrassed with what you have or not have. Each person has their own unique. So I may know lots of things that other founders or investors do not know. I bring my own approach, and they have their own experience and approach.
I love that. I think the theme is be authentic and be curious, right? Have that curiosity because I think that bleeds on the other side when someone is first being introduced to you because they see that you have a genuine interest in what they're trying to do, their goal, their vision, and you bring perspective on how they can reach that goal faster. So now you're in New York, you're supporting different founders. You're at the accelerator that you just talked about, which, we'll talk more about as well. But you also mentioned earlier the group that you founded, the Woman in Tech group where you're supporting businesswomen and tech entrepreneurs in the New York area. So I have to hear more about this. How did this come about? How did the idea come about? How did you put it together? Can you kind of share some of those personal experiences forming that group?
Yes. Well, when I moved to the US and before starting to work with Key, I managed a large co-working space for startups in Soho. That was more operational than working with the startups and supporting their needs and helping them grow. And I decided that I want to continue working with startups and less be operational. So I decided to quit my job. Then COVID happened and shuffled all the cards. I started to think to myself, well, I'm not sure that the co-working space now would be the best idea for me. The world has gone crazy. I don't know what's next. I want to continue networking and finding people and helping others connect with others in the ecosystem. And I want others to know me. And for me, that was also part of, I want to get to know more people in the ecosystem. I don't like searching for a job. So maybe that way I'll be able to create my job by getting to know other people. So I felt also that I'm lacking a community to speak with from my tech ecosystem because it's COVID. No one is really meeting in person. And I just quit my job just before COVID, honestly.
Yeah.
Um, and I searched for that community and I couldn't find one that answers my needs and what I'm looking for. There was a great group, um, but it wasn't a community as in the aspect of communicating with one another. So I decided to create one, thinking that if I'm missing that gap, maybe others are missing that gap as well. So I decided to build this community, mostly women. We do have some men in our community. We're not excluding anyone, mostly women though, in order to be the home away from home for any woman or man in the Israeli tech ecosystem in New York City, where we can connect with one another, help each other grow, provide different opportunities, collaborate with one another, network, and empower each other. So yeah, behind the community and my personal need for the community. So there's two different levels of why the community was established and why I wanted to establish the community. And it was, I don't know when COVID happened, but we are growing. We are more on quality versus quantity, meaning we have a lot of, I lost the number, but we have a lot of community members in our community. I forgot the second question that you asked me, so feel free to
Well, no,
re-
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. You kind of already answered it a little bit, but just kind of like the unique challenges that you faced as
Oh,
growing this community, right?
yes.
Uh, mhm.
So also for I believe that our community can support in different challenges because it's like learning a whole new language. Once you are able to identify that not a lot of women get the same opportunities as men, or you know what, personality, then you start to see that everywhere. So you start to see that there's like this amazing panel with great speakers, and you suddenly like this veil removed from your eyes, and you just notice which you haven't noticed before, and then it's all male speakers. And that could be
Right.
a different titles in different roles in different stages of their career. And we can help them. I volunteer my time so that my community managers, no one is paying to join that community. It's all volunteer. What we do is we help empower them. We started by creating Quickie Talk, where we invited community members to share from their knowledge and expertise with the community and then have a networking session, which also created a great networking opportunity, but spotlighted them and let them have shared their knowledge and practice their speaking opportunities. We were able to connect them to other panels and conferences. And also with my work, I have a lot of mentors in our programs that I brought from our community. They helped me by mentoring our program, and I've helped them by gaining more visibility and more experience and more connection. So there's lots of opportunities where we can solve through those different challenges.
You give resources, they give resources in a variety of different ways, whether it be, like you said, getting someone the opportunity to be on a panel, you give them a connection to XYZ company, and the more holistic the community is in that framework, then everyone benefits as a result. So yeah, that's really cool to hear. And before we move on from that topic, you talked about how you started this very closely out of or right at the tail end or right in the beginning of COVID. How important do you think is the face-to-face interaction when creating a community? Obviously, we're doing this podcast virtually, But I think we're seeing more and more face-to-face events again and IRL events again because people value that human connection even more so after COVID. Based on what you've seen in your POV, is that kind of the same thing that you're seeing? People are kind of valuing that face-to-face interaction again?
Yes, I think it's both because we are already adjusted to the hybrid model or to the virtual model. So it's hard now to change it. People do want
Yeah.
to interact in person. And I felt it was more of a need right after the vaccine were out, they were able to start meeting people. And I feel it's a combination of both. So our community is virtual, and it started virtual.
Mhm.
And my community managers convinced me to do the first networking event. It was a rooftop. I was super vigilant. I was the only person with a mask. That's how everyone liked me. One
Can
was
ever be
in,
too safe?
yeah, I was super. And two, now I have a baby in daycare, so no mask, everything's cool. Like he gets sick. And it was amazing. It was when we were like 100 people in the community. Now we're more than 1,000. And over 100 showed up, which doesn't make sense with numbers because usually if you have 100, like people would like, who have 50. Because people invited their friends to join the community and join the event because they really wanted that in-person networking indeed. Others came along because they knew that they were interacting online with people and they would be able to meet them there so they didn't feel alone. And with that said, I feel that also virtual can still take place because people want to do it all at the same time and not always have the time to be in person. So they can start the conversation online. Our accelerators are mostly virtual as well, for example, with in-person components. So yes, people want to meet in person. They want this social networking. They want to bring them together. They want to meet for coffee. And they can also combine it with this virtual. So for me, I feel like it's both. It's the best of both worlds.
Yeah, I think that's the best model, the hybrid model where you meet people where they're at. Some people can only do virtual because of where they are geographically, but those people who are in your local community or are able to make an event in person, I think there's even more genuine connections and value from that, especially in an increasingly digital world. So yeah, I'm glad you guys are on that wavelength.
Yeah, and you know what? Sometimes when you start building a relationship online and then you move to an in-person one, the
Mm,
relationship is even much stronger because you have time to have a genuine conversation and it's not said by like an hour or half an hour of a coffee meetup.
100%. I've seen that so many times where even when I meet someone online or virtually, you might have a certain perception of them. They might be a CEO of a company and you might have a certain perception, but then in person, they're actually even more down to earth than you thought, or their personality comes out, and then you build an even more genuine connection. So you've built your own community, that's going well. It's very, very niche and it hits a direct target audience. I wanted to talk more about your model that you guys are currently addressing at the company. So can you kind of talk more about what gaps in the traditional accelerator model that you and your team are currently addressing for startup founders?
Yes, yes, sure. So I'll just briefly recap what we are doing is we build and launch startup accelerator programs in partnerships with US and foreign government and institutions such as investor groups. So it's a partnership model. We work with over 40 nationalities. When I
Wow.
started to work at Key, yes, I worked with Cell Innovation and then remote with Real Accelerations. Now it's Key. We recently had our new logo on the NASDAQ tower when we had one of the
Wow.
delegations from EIT. Yes, so that was very nice. And we just recently announced the merge. Our model is the gap that we see is less a gap than more mechanical. Many acceleration programs are predicted on working with a certain kind of business, retail, AI, SaaS. So this approach assumes that accelerators or an accelerator or an investor knows where markets are going and what type of technology should be built. And if that was true, then we were all real billionaires. And we feel that an effective accelerator model needs to um, work with the founders and provide them direction and fuel them toward whatever comes, whatever outcome that they have, and whatever the founders feel and believe that is best. So we accomplish it by organizing the startups in our programs into outcome-focused areas versus vertical-focused silos. So we have curriculum, we have different sessions and go-to-market and fundraising, and we also have a diverse cohort industry agnostic from different sectors. If it's an early stage, it could be also different stages of an early stage. We also work with growth stage for those who want to expand to the US and already have their product. And then we tailor our support. We have one-on-one meeting. We have dedicated mentorship support lead mentors that we tailor and curate based on the founder's industry and challenges and needs and roadmap. And then we work with them on identifying their goals, their milestones individually. So that's how we see the difference with, instead of being focused on a specific program, we do have also a retail program regardless. But instead of focusing on the vertical, we focus with them on the area of support and the outcome. What outcomes can you provide? What solutions can you provide? And then sometimes in our programs, founders pivot. Instead of B2C, they understand that B2B should be the better approach. They understand that they have to pivot something because what they thought would be the best won't tailor to the market that they're addressing or the customer persona that they want, or that their passion is
Right.
more in a specific area in the venture.
And, from your POV, you're seeing different startup founders in different verticals, right? How important is the power of a mentor to kind of handhold them and guide them through certain challenges? Because a lot of startup founders don't have that. And can you share like any examples or a success story from a specific company or person where you've seen the program take them to a new level of success for that company?
Yes. So I would say I feel that a mentorship is very important. But it doesn't have to be ongoing mentorship, and I'll explain.
Sure.
We do not handhold our founders. Yes, we have weekly meetings with them, and then they have a lead mentor that meets with them weekly. The founders are in the driver's seat. We encourage them not to have like a mental whiplash, which is too much advice, could be confusing. They decide if they want to take the advice or not. We challenge them. We challenge their thinking. We help them navigate. The mentors ask them questions, may offer resources. They would not tell them, hey, do A, B, C, and then let's meet. They may say, research this, let me know your thoughts, and come back and we can move forward. They can support and advise in their experience, let's say on fundraising, on how to research certain things, but they would not lead them. The founders are leading, and that's actually their job because we provide them the tools in order for them to be able to sustain their ventures afterwards. They feel handholded right now. Then once the program ends, even though we continue supporting them as alumni, once the program ends, they will need to continue to get that handholding. So we want to empower them to lead the way. Even if, for example, they want us to make a connection or introduction to a mentor, we ask them to send us an email and explain and feel affordable that we can use, because we want to encourage those tools that they'll be able to do on their own, instead of waiting for someone to do that for them. And so that's number one with handholding. And I feel that mentorship is important. It doesn't have to be on a weekly basis. And yes, our accelerator supports in providing those supports. It could be a lead mentor. It could be a 30-minute one-off advisory call for a specific marketing question or legal
Right.
question. And we have those resources and the mentors in the network. And I feel that founders, regardless to acceleration programs or not, can create those connections and network themselves. Do not necessarily have to have someone do that for them. It's great if you can have someone that can open doors for you. And you can also not be afraid to try and reach out to someone and say, hey, I'm building this venture. I saw that you have an entrepreneurial experience and you're doing this and that. And if you have time, I'd love to hop on a call with you to talk to you about XYZ. But I would mention that you have to come ready to know why you're reaching out to that specific person, asking them to support you. And what are the conversation topic that you want to speak about? Don't just be like vague and send a call out to everyone. You need to be concise and elaborate what it is that you're looking for so you can maximize their time and they will be willing to support you. And even if it doesn't have to be a mentor that challenges you, just someone that you can also bounce ideas off can support founders, because founders at the early stage have so much to do, right? You have to do everything. So sometimes even this simplest thing that may seem obvious to one person not necessarily are obvious to founders because they are targeted at, oh, I have to get an investment, I have to get clients, I have to set, I have to finish the product. What about creating a list of potentials that you want to target and not all people? How are you creating credibility for yourself? How are you creating some traction? Traction doesn't have to be client. How are you doing some marketing to show that you're in this ecosystem? Are you going to conferences? Are you connecting with people? Are you commenting on LinkedIn in order to show people that you're starting to follow them and creating conversations? So once you reach out to them, they already see that you follow them, responding to them. So you're building this relationship. There's so many smart things that are important to establishing relationships and getting connected with a broader entrepreneurial community that are deep in like funding and product and other things may miss out. So bouncing ideas with a mentor, finding that person, I think is valuable and helpful. The success story briefly, because that was a long answer. I so many pivoted and got a better business model. One of the lead mentors in our company, head of sales of a large corporation, was able to support and establish great relationships with one of the other founders in our program, and then was invited to join the advisory board and got a seat to continue supporting with the founder. Other
Wow.
company, one of the mentors invested in the company. So there's a lot of different and most of and it's also providing more connections and resources. It was to open more doors for them.
I love that. I love that. And, going back to what you said before, the importance of not having analysis paralysis and getting too much advice. It's good to have someone give you advice here and there, but, it's important as a founder of a company to be in the driver's seat to make those decisions. Otherwise, if you get too much advice, then you end up kind of going nowhere. And it sounds like you guys are doing great work, especially on the international founders front, which I know it kind of hits closer home to you. So I kind of wanted you to speak on, are there like any unique strengths that international founders have that have come through your program or that you've seen firsthand that might be overlooked or might not be talked about as much? What kind of unique perspective do people that come from overseas have than you've seen otherwise?
I feel that so much. Yes, we speak about founders who are expanding to the US, need to learn about the US culture, need to adapt to the market. There's a lot of learning because what worked in their origin country may not work here. That said, they bring a lot of value. So they do not come with a disadvantage of, I need to now learn about the market. Yet there's a lot to learn, but they also bring a lot of things with them. So a difference in their cultural behavior, meaning they can perhaps walk faster and walk cleaner and advance faster. I know that about the Israeli tech ecosystem and founder,
Yeah.
and I believe that's true. It may be relevant to other nationalities. They also are able to identify problems outside of the US that haven't been identified yet in the US and that can make a difference. So they have a global perspective and experience on different markets, which US founders not necessarily always have. Um, they offer international market insights and trends that also may have been overlooked in the local ecosystem. So they provide a different perspective. They are able to build ventures that scale across borders. So yes, they have to adapt to the US market, and there's a lot of learning. That's why we have programs dedicated to startups expanding to the US. But that means that they are able to adapt to challenges, to new environments, and they were able to build and they still maintain their companies in their origin country. So they are able to offer cross-border partnerships with companies that they partner here in the US as well.
Wow.
And new relationships to their ecosystems back home.
I love that, and the more you added on to that, it's just like, wow, I kinda wish I was born internationally now?
Yeah, a lot
Well,
of advantages for a local startup. We also,
of
I
course,
work
of
with
course.
local accelerators, and
Love it.
all have great advantages.
Of course, but I think from an international standpoint, you talked about how they just have a global pool of knowledge that not necessarily people who were born in the US might have, things to consider, how to tap into various markets across the world, not just the US. I think that broader perspectives just gives you a greater chance of success, right? You're not able to just attract the market that you're going after, but also once that next leap takes place to open up the borders and build your business internationally, you kind of already have that leg up, which you just said from a partnership standpoint, from a knowledge standpoint, all those types of things. So that's really, really cool. Kind of the last thing on the accelerator model approach, you actually reached out to me recently about a new program that you guys are getting ready to launch or have already launched with the Manhattan Chamber of Commerce. I would love to
Yes.
hear more about the retail storefront accelerator program, how online businesses are getting ready to bridge into the physical, storefront world. Can you kind of talk about how this partnership came about, what you guys are trying to accomplish there?
So yes, we are partnering with the Manhattan Chamber of Commerce to be the retail storefront accelerator to actually help more businesses open physical storefronts in Manhattan. And this partnership came about over 7 years ago of development relationships between Sela Innovation, now Quay, and the Manhattan Chamber of Commerce. So we first began the conversation with Manhattan Chamber of Commerce CEO Jessica Walker in her first months on the job back in 2017. And eventually, through collaboration with the city and the SBA, MCC, Manhattan Chamber of Commerce, was able to rally support and resources for a retail-focused accelerator program. This program is especially impactful application of the accelerator model because it's adding organization and collaboration to the retail ecosystem in order to help founders understand how to build sustainable businesses, how to turn from online to in person, and how to navigate the landscape of finding a space and how to run this business and hire. And, we had one of the fireside chat with a famous chef who now is is not globally, but like known around and is on
Yeah.
TV and has multiple stores and wrote a book. And from listening to him, I realized also that the journey is similar of fundraising, of having your presentation deck, of speaking with investors, of bands, of building a venture, whether you're tech or non-tech. So
Yeah.
the process is similar, though there are more responsibilities with having a physical store, and with different challenges when we set out to build the program, we faced resistance from brokerages or lawyers or landlords or others who were used to operating in a peaceful and competitive New York City retail market. And however, by learning the specific needs of the businesses in the program and the different roles that those brokerages, landlords, lawyers can play in the program, and those stakeholders, they realize that they can support and empower those founders. And it was clear that it's a best match in every situation and provided greater openness from the retail ecosystem and collaborations between those who may be considered competitors to collaborate with one another and to support also the founders who also may be thinking as competitors, but they are not competitors and they can empower each other and promote one another and collaborate with one another. I
That
don't know, did I miss anything?
No, that definitely answered it. That kind of brought up the idea of another question as you were talking, especially really building retail in the New York space, like you said, is very competitive, right? And so for you and your perspective, or at least early on in this process of bridging that gap between online and physical, what do you think is the most important factor when trying to create your own retail space? Is it funding? Is it the roadmap from how we're going to generate revenue from now until the physical store is open for 1, 2, 3 years? Is it having an online presence already with the following? Which factors do you think will get a founder from point A to point B to having their own physical store and knowing that they'll drive the proper demand to be sustainable? Or is it a factor that I didn't mention?
It could be so many things and all of the things together.
Yeah.
Um, it depends. I believe that it depends on the types of products that you're selling, the location that you want to open the store, the community around it. Could be your background as a founder fit for this, your passion for it. If you have funding, it's always great. You don't always have to have lots of funding. The support that you get around you. how many challenges or blockers are in the runway that you have in order to sustain this, the challenges that you're able to take or that someone is feel comfortable taking with you along the way. So, for an example, when we had our fireside chat with the chef, he mentioned that what helped him to grow his restaurant further and expand was the community around him that
Yeah.
supported him. And then, yes, there's funding, there's finding the right space that matches the community that you want to empower, what you're selling, believe in what you are providing. So there's lots of different aspects, and I believe, and that's what we try to identify with each company based on their milestones and their goals. Like, do you want to achieve with them their challenges, their product, their customer persona, and identify for each of them what is that factor that they need in order to be unique. Do they need this brand recognition? Perhaps they need to go into conferences and meet
Yeah.
people. Perhaps they need to do some demos. Perhaps they need to collaborate with other known companies in order to attach their name and build their credibility. So it really depends on the type. I feel it depends on the type of venture.
Yeah, that makes sense. Every, you know, case is different from one another. It depends on their goal, what they're coming in as. And I think what you said is very important. I think kind of the future of business is community-led business versus product-led. A lot of founders focus on the product and then try to create the community after that around the product, which doesn't always work. You don't know if people are going to gravitate towards that product, but building a community around a shared purpose or a shared idea or a shared interest, like you said with the chef, he had a community around him and now he can provide a product or a service to service that community because he already knows what their wants and needs are, makes it that much easier. So definitely excited to follow that retail storefront program and kind of see what businesses take off from that and how well they do in the retail space because I think that'll be very interesting. So definitely appreciate you sharing that. I'll try to combine these questions, but you work in the event space with your different meetups that you've put together on your own. Kind of talk to the audience about your framework for building community and creating an engaged community. You've helped create communities for startup founders. You created communities for yourself. Is there an A, B, and C process that you kind of go through to create a community? Are there certain tent pole things that someone needs to do to create a thriving and engaged community?
Yes, for sure. And there's a lot of the structure frameworks if the audience goes online, but I'm happy to share mine. So what I think is important is identify needs and goals overall. So identify a need. Why do I want to build the community? Identify why would people want to join this community? Identify the audience. Who do I want to join the community? Who would want to join the community? It's the same people. Identify their needs. Why would they join the community? What are their pain points right now? Am I able to solve that through this community? Identify the platform where people the audience are interacting daily. Where should I lead these communities in online? And if so, which platform? Is it in person? How often will they meet? Will they meet only if I will let them know that we're meeting? Will they be interacting with one another or only through me, which is like a community, but not really? I feel like a community is more two-way street where they can interact with one another and not only through me. Others may disagree. And provide this value for people, guide them, navigate, set guidelines, show them, welcome them when they join in, and help them also create value themselves to each other and connect members with one another. Make sure that there's a need for the community, just like when you do so for a startup. And what need does it answer? Identify who would gain from the community, who are direct needs for their need. Identify who will lead this community. Do they have time? Is it going to be monetized, non-monetized? How are members going to interact with one another? On what topics? Set the guidelines. Create a welcoming onboarding experience and questionnaires so they feel welcomed and know what to do. Show them the way, connect with others, learn about their ongoing needs so you can continue to answer them. Create networking opportunities, ask members to provide value to each other, set guidelines, not blockers, which blockers could also be like, I prefer not to set blockers for my community members, but I'm strict on we speak only about tech topics, no other topic. And I offered them guidance on what to do instead and not just say no. Also, members to identify the opportunities and initiate events themselves and let them know how they can take part of it. And then build a community team that can support. And it takes time. Don't open a community if you don't have time to invest in it. If you're trying to look for a quick solution, a quick monetizing way.
Right. Well,
Be truthful for yourself and for your members. Even if it's a product community, there's so many different ways of, is it going to be a place where people can ask questions or interact with members or provide their feedback? Are you going to sell to them? Be genuine with what the community purpose is. Don't have any secrets behind it. If you're monetizing commercials in your community, say, this is a collaboration we made in order to do this and that, because members can sense when someone is trying to sell them and not genuine.
100%.
Like, have it a place to share input and not just for people to get insights. My community members to support one another. Don't join only if you want to take something. Tell me how can you bring something? How can you support others? So that's my approach.
I love it. I love it. I mean, we could have done a master class just on those topics and we could have dived into that question for a long time. But I think a lot of what you said is super important, especially knowing not only the purpose of the community for the community, but what's the purpose of the community for you. A lot of people I've seen try to create communities to capitalize on trends and for a quick buck or to monetize, but they're not necessarily interested in that topic. And I think the only way to really grow and build a sustainable community is if you're naturally interested in that community. You're constantly learning, especially like what I'm trying to build with the Community Managers podcast. That's something I'm naturally interested in. I do it for my day to day job. And it's something that I want to continue to get better at and learn more from people like yourself. So it's authentic and organic. And I think from there, you can continue to let it build organically into something that flourishes. I think also what you said, having community members, finding and identifying key community members to help lead it. You know, you want to be the leader of the community, the face for sure, but you also want to have dedicated members who are advocates and ambassadors and who are going to moderate and help build a community up when you're not necessarily able to lead a meeting or a meetup. You want to have those sub communities within the community leading themselves to overall strengthen the community. And then I think the last thing you said, which is really good, was having guidelines and kind of creating a sandbox and a playground. So for your example, you guys only talk about tech. So we're only going to talk about tech in here. This is a dedicated community about tech. And if you want to talk about other topics, you guys can do that on your own. But I think that's super important to keep it focused, to keep it to where community members are in there for a purpose to gain specific knowledge and information from each other that's focused on one goal or topic. So yeah, that was really great. And, you know, that's something that I think a lot of people will be able to take from, you know, if they're trying to build their own communities for themselves, for their company or for their own business. So yeah, I appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah,
So,
gladly. Thank you for you recapped it beautifully.
and oh, I try to. I know we're coming up on time, and I definitely want to. I know we could talk all day about you and all your different knowledge across years and years of business expertise. But I wanted to leave the audience with what your POV is on the future. You know, a lot of people have different ideas of building community and the role of a community manager. And I think really anyone is a community manager. If you've ever hosted an event, you're kind of a community manager. If you've ever made an introduction to someone, you're a community manager in some form or fashion. So in your POV, like how do you see the role of community managers evolving, at least within the tech ecosystem? You know, do you see any emerging trends, technologies that you're excited about from your point of view in the community building space?
Yes, that the role is keeps evolving and changing, and also different companies that post different job postings add up different things to that. So it may be like more sales, more online, more
Mhm.
value creation, less value creation changes,
It
whether
does.
our perspective matters or not as community managers, the companies also change those roles. And yes, I feel like it's very evolving, like positive and perhaps like as a disadvantage. Like there's with the rise of platforms that can support the manager, we may also lose some of the human aspect of it for better or worse. There's different managing platforms and AI-driven community management tools, such as our virtual offices or alternative to
Mhm.
Facebook or Slack, or integrations among them through matchmaking platforms to connect between mentors and founders or community members to one another. And on the one hand, I see it increases and there's more platforms like that. And I feel that the more the better, because we may end up with the like best solution, because each of them is like for me maybe missing one thing or the other. And
Right.
though sometimes when you have it all, it may be also too much. And it can help analyze data of certain communities more efficiently. So you'll be able to know that you're providing the right value and that the community is growing. And also it can help community managers focus on the higher level strategy of engagement rather than the repetitive tasks that sometimes you need to do. Though I feel that sometimes it could reduce the human aspect, which I believe is needed in order to contribute to an engaged community. So, for example, as I said, in our after hours community of tech, we have this questionnaire. And yes, we can gather that information and I read it. Yes, it takes longer to let people in the community. I communicate with each and every one of them, me or the team. And that way we know their needs. We made this connection and we have a warm welcome to the community and are able to encourage them to interact better and support others. And then when we, for example, tag them in a post for them to interact with others, it's more genuine versus not even speaking to them at all.
Right.
That said, there are we for example collaborated with an app that does matchmaking between community members. Actually, it wasn't dedicated for community members, but we pivoted based on our need and we piloted with them. So that was a great help because instead of me or my team constantly trying to connect, the app we encouraged the members to join in, and they were able to add their interest, and the app knew based on their LinkedIn profiles and the interest that they made to do weekly match and invite them to an online conversation weekly based on those conversations for the community members to
Wow.
meet each other. So that reduced the workload from us or the stress of making those connections. Also, we added more tech into the tech community and allowed them to interact without us being fully engaged in that. I feel like this is just like a small thing that
Yeah.
contributes. I know that there are much bigger things coming ahead. And with that, I would like want to encourage others to continue keeping that human aspect with the community. You know, the post-COVID world created these virtual communities and hybrid communities, which created those stories of the virtual event and online platforms. So we evolve and the world evolves with us.
I love it. I mean, you hit the nail on the head. We are continuing to evolve as the world evolves. Who knows, we might be meeting in augmented reality and virtual reality in the next 5, 10 years with the way things are going with the evolution in technology. But we're only going to just continue to meet where people are, right? Which is where technology is going. So I think that's a great place to leave it. Ariela, thank you so much for being on the pod. This was great. You gave so many nuggets and insights, and your experience is bountiful. And I'm sure we could have talked for another hour, but I appreciate you.
Thank you, Brandon, for inviting me and allowing me to share more from my experience and knowledge, and happy to support whoever needs further support.
Of course, of course. If anyone wants to find you or connect with you, what's the best place they can do that?
They can do that through LinkedIn, and I recommend to add the note of the send like a request, and the note mention context so you'll be able to connect.
Awesome, awesome. I'll make sure to put that in the link in the description on YouTube, as well as the show notes on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Ariela, once again, we'll have to do this again in the future just to kind of circle back, see what exciting things you're doing in the accelerator startup, woman in tech world, all the different things you're doing. Definitely loved having you on, and we'll have to do it again soon.
Thank you, Brandon, and congrats on the podcast. I'm excited to continue following it.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Take care.
You too.
Wow, what another great episode of the Community Managers Podcast. Don't forget to go to the communitymanagerspodcast.com and sign up for the newsletter. If you want to stay ahead of the curve, if you're a community professional, community builder, I have a weekly newsletter that is dropped into your inbox with different insights that I've gathered from these podcasts and interviewing some of the top community managers in the world. And eventually we'll be migrating into our own private community only for community builders to continue to grow and build together as the world continues to evolve. So don't want to miss that. Head over to the communitymanagerspodcast.com to sign up for that. But until next time, I appreciate everyone for tuning in, and I'll see you on the next one. My name is Brandon Iverson. Talk soon. Peace.